Do you find yourself always chasing that next goal or shiny new object? External rewards are what we're trained and raised to seek most often, but there's another way to approach your work and activities that will bring you higher performance and much more satisfaction in your life. This is what it looks like when you become more autotelic and develop an autotelic personality. But what is an autotelic personality? The term autotelic is derived from the Greek words auto, meaning self, and telos, meaning goal. Autotelic refers to a self-contained activity. It's one that is not done with the expectation of some future benefit or extrinsic goal. Simply, the action is done because doing so is the reward itself. An autotelic personality, then, comes when you have adapted to doing things for their own inherent pleasure and meaning rather than to expect some future reward or benefit from doing them. Take the example of reading a book. When we're in school and we have to read something for a class, the action becomes a chore. This could even mean that a great book for a literature class and not just something like an organic chemistry textbook. You probably race to finish reading it because you just want to complete the assignment and get the grade. I love reading, but even I couldn't combat that drain of forcing myself through the required reading in school. I all but stopped reading during summer breaks, and it took a lot to regain that autotelic state with reading. Some people are wired to see and do things for their inherent pleasure, but this is more of a learned trait that's important to first become aware of and understand the value of so that you can build an autotelic personality for yourself. Just like how much of society trains us to play finite games and obsess over the end goals instead of the process that we're working on, we can train ourselves to become more autotelic. So how do we do this? Mihai Csikszentmihalyi identified becoming more autotelic as one of the conditions for the flow state, and it's an important one at that. Developing an autotelic self, as he called it, comes from repeated practice and training of the skills and practices that ingrain an autotelic personality and the flow state in your lifestyle. In Mihai's classic book on the subject, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, he states that to live a high flow life, we should redesign jobs so that they resemble flow activities as closely as possible, but that it's also the responsibility of us as individuals as well to develop our personalities to be more autotelic. To derive inherent pleasure from an activity comes from 3 triggers for the flow state in particular: recognizing opportunities for action, honing skills, and setting reachable goals. Let's start with recognizing opportunities for action. Inertia is a big problem when it comes to becoming more autotelic and experiencing more flow in your life. This is something I talked about more in the video on how TV is killing your dreams. We so often wait for opportunities to force us out of our comfort zone before we push to enter the flow state. This could be at work when you're tired and just want to punch the clock, do the bare minimum of your job, and then go home. But this is also what we see in our free time when we're off duty. It's so much easier to default to turning on the TV, to watch your favorite TV show, or pick up a book for light reading, instead of reading something that's a bit more challenging and more engaging that we'll get more satisfaction out of as well. Or even just setting up your environment better by turning off the TV in the background and reducing distractions so that you can immerse yourself and focus better on what it is you are reading. Mihai also said that having an autotelic self implies the ability to sustain involvement, by which he meant that more immersion in the activity that you're taking action on. The second trigger for becoming more autotelic is honing skills. With focus and immersion in an activity comes honing skills. This is the next element of becoming autotelic because to derive the ultimate satisfaction from an activity comes with improving your skills so that you can continue to push the challenge just a little bit more than you think you're capable of doing. Think about a piano player or anybody practicing a musical instrument. They start with chords and simple songs, but as they practice and develop their interest in music, the skill needs to progress as well. So then let's tie this into the third trigger in setting reachable goals. With honing skills comes the other piece of the equation, which is setting reachable goals. We want the challenge of skill development to be just hard enough that we have to push slightly, but not get too frustrated from it being too hard. The ideal amount of extra effort is 4% more than what you're currently capable of. This puts you just outside your comfort zone enough to stay dialed in and engaged. So when you're recognizing opportunities for action and practicing to hone your skills, make sure that you balance your lofty, bigger goals with a more immediate, reachable goal to keep you involved in the present moment and the experience. And this is where we can tie this into why is an autotelic personality important for flow and high performance. Having an autotelic personality and becoming more autotelic is a condition of the flow state. That was identified by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in his research and is something that he listed out as one of the conditions for flow. It's not absolutely essential to get into flow. You can still do that by turning up the novelty of an experience or increasing the risk, but to sustain flow states and living a more high performance life demands the long-term commitment that only comes from being intrinsically motivated. Consistently seeking progress and flow requires a lot of dedication, but this commitment and oftentimes the sacrifice that comes with it is worth it in the sense of the satisfaction and meaning that we get from a life well lived. But an autotelic personality, as I mentioned, is only one part of the equation to experiencing more flow. For more on that, check out this next video here on building a high flow life.